From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
What a difference a year makes.
And we may see prices go up slightly when we get into harvesting and start selling rice.
Why Louisiana rice farmers are pretty happy right now. A hopeful sign, a ship carrying grain finally leaves a Ukrainian port.
It's important because there are 345 million people today in 82 countries who are acutely food insecure.
As prayers for rain are finally answered in some places, while others try to dry out from too much too soon. We're following it all right now on AgDay. Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Finally, there's some good news in the battle against drought in Texas. Over the weekend, a storm dumped up to 7 inches of rain in some areas of the Texas panhandle. Now, much of that falling in just 1 hour. Diana, who lives near Amarillo, took a couple of videos of the storm coming in. The ground, though, not ready in all places to receive that much rain so quickly, with flooding, even a rock slide reported. Still, Amarillo has seen just over 8 inches of rain so far this year, well below the city's average of 21 inches. And in other places of the state, especially the South Plains, there is no rain in sight for the next 10 days. While rain fell in parts of Texas over the weekend, the area has battled drought all year. As Farm Journal's Tyne Morgan reports, the nation's largest cotton producer has seen acres wither in the past month. Heat and a lack of moisture continues to batter fields.
An aerial snapshot of Hale County, Texas tells the story best.
Most of our area right now is in a D4 drought, the highest level that the drought monitor actually measures.
Todd Straley manages Quarter Way Gin in Plainview, Texas, an area that's known for cotton.
We expected at the beginning of the season with the acres that I had planted reported to me, we should have been ginning somewhere just slightly over 100,000 bales this year. What it looks like today is we're going to be somewhere between 15 and 20,000.
The last time the crop looked this poor was the devastating drought of 2011, and this year the crop is worse.
I can tell you in 2011, this particular gin did 40,000 bales in 2011.
Stephen Ebling says as a farmer, 2011 still stings, but he says 2022 may be worse.
This year, our aquifers depleted to the point we've turned this into a salvage operation already, and that's not good before cotton already blooms that we're trying to salvage a crop. We don't have an acre of dry land left. It's all been failed out. Most of it never even sprouted.
It's not just the drought that's been unbearable for the crops here, but also the heat. The National Weather Service says so far this year, Lubbock, Texas has seen 29 days with temps above 100 degrees. 16 of those came in July.
The only plants that are green or even alive around here are under a pivot.
Ebling still hopes to salvage 80% of his irrigated crop, which is much better than other farmers around here. But the recent triple-digit heat means the number of irrigated fields that may fail this year will more than likely grow. Texas Tech economist Darren Hudson says it's stories like this playing out across the High Plains.
It's horrible. I don't know that there's any other way to describe it.
As crop prospects dwindle by the day, the dryland crop is already gone, just like it was in 2011.
What we're seeing now, I think, is perhaps more troubling, is there are a lot of irrigated acres that have been plowed up. It's just not worth it to take it to harvest.
Hudson says USDA was aggressive in its July forecast, putting current U.S. cotton abandonment now at 32%, which is the third highest on record.
I think the abandonment number that USDA is working with at this point is probably far too low for this region.
It's the infrastructure piece of the puzzle that is troubling for economists and communities here.
We're looking, in probably billions of dollars worth of lost economic activity for the region.
This drought is going to have a huge impact on West Texas and Texas in general for our entire lifetime.
All right, thanks, Tyne. Meanwhile, another round of storms hit disaster areas in eastern Kentucky as crews continue to search for possible victims following massive flooding there. Kentucky's governor says 30 people are confirmed dead while hundreds remain unaccounted for. President Biden declaring a federal disaster last week to direct relief and recovery efforts to flooded counties. USDA's latest crop progress report showing improving conditions across the nation. Cotton now rated 38% good to excellent. That's a 4-point improvement in just a week's time, while in Texas, things are pretty tough. Just 24% rated good to excellent. Corn condition ratings, they're holding steady, 61% rated good to excellent right now. That's the same as last week and just slightly behind last year. And on soybeans, a 1-point improvement week over week. Now 60% of the crop rated good to excellent. That's tied with last year at this time. The rain was a welcome sight in Texas, but excessive heat is still a concern across the middle of the country. Meteorologist Matt Yurosavik is here with more.
Yeah, Clinton, we've got more heat, more humidity on the way this week, as well as a couple chances for rain, especially east of the Mississippi. But here's a look at that excessive heat outlook for this week. Still focusing on the northern plains, the upper Midwest. For most of the heat, again, temperatures about 10 to 15 degrees above normal. As we head through this afternoon, take a look at these highs. 108 down in Brownsville, 100 degrees or above down all across Texas. And then when you get up into parts of Kansas, Nebraska, and even parts of South Dakota, we're looking at highs closer to 105 to 110 degrees. And again, there's a little bit of humidity there as well, staying hot and humid all the way through the Mid-South and towards the East Coast, with temperature in Richmond near 99 degrees. There is still some chances for rain, though, and that will come from a couple of systems dropping out of the upper Midwest through the middle part of this week and then towards the weekend. Again, a lot of that rain going on around or east of the Mississippi. Still, though, monsoon season in the west, where we'll see those showers and thunderstorms continuing most every afternoon from now until the end of the week, so something to watch out for if you live back in the Southwest. And here's a clever way to keep cool. Garrett Harima of Uxbridge, Ontario, saying some of us dairy farmers don't have sea-doos. Looks like it works, though. I'll have more on your forecast coming up.
Happening right now, after months of war and weeks of negotiations, the first ship carrying Ukrainian grain is on its way from the port of Odessa. Here it is, a ship called the Razoni, flagged in Sierra Leone. It's taking 26,000 tons of corn to Lebanon. Russia and Ukraine signed an agreement with Turkey and the UN last month, allowing the grain to be exported out of a few Black Sea ports. Now, the ship sailing a predetermined mine-free corridor to Turkey, where it will be searched by teams from the involved nations. Resuming exports is expected to help ease a global food crisis sparked by the war.
And why is it important? It's important because there are 345 million people today in 82 countries who are acutely food insecure. Some of those people, a million of them, are living in famine-like conditions.
Ukrainian leaders say unlocking the ports will provide at least $1 billion in revenue to the economy and help the ag sector plan for next year. Other countries may also be looking to the U.S. for wheat, and the Wheat Quality Council's Spring Wheat Tour projects North Dakota spring wheat yield the highest since 2015. The average spring wheat yield in North Dakota was estimated at 49.1 bushels per acre. This year's estimate topped the 5-year average of 39.4 bushels, and if achieved, would be a record. But market analysts are skeptical.
And I think they're looking at it as this is, if everything went good from here on out and everything was able to mature on time, that's what the crop would be at. But we all know Mother Nature is going to throw us a few more curveballs with that wheat market. So I don't think that yield's there.
The state's wheat is developing later than normal. However, USDA's first survey-based estimate in July pegged the North Dakota hard red spring wheat at 51 bushels to the acre. Grain markets were off to a rough start to begin this week, but milk markets were mixed. We'll get details on that coming up next from Michelle Rook. And later, all that hot weather has to be good for something, right? See what it means for Louisiana's rice crop in the country.
Ag Day is brought to you by the End Zone by Farm Shop MFG, which allows you to rehydrate your soybeans from 10 to 13%. On a 20,000 bushel bin, that's an extra semi-load added to your bottom line. Order your End Zone fan control by August 31st and receive $200 off.
Despite a rise in interest rates, farm lending has ticked up. That's the assessment in a new report from the Kansas City Federal Reserve. It says larger size loans continued to boost lending in the second quarter, all while farm loan interest rates edged higher. Economists say farm lending is showing signs of rebounding from the pullback in recent years and could grow further in the coming months as the higher costs of many major inputs become more fully realized. Corn and soybeans falling to start the week, but the dairy complex has also seen some price changes over the past few weeks. AgDay's Michelle Rook joins us with more on that.
Joining us with market analysis, John Heinberg with Total Farm Marketing. John, milk market has had a setback off of its highs, and let's talk about why. A lot of that's demand recessionary concerns.
Yeah, the big concerns going on in that cheese market right now. We've seen those block and barrel prices just continue to tumble since those highs. And, that's a little bit tied to the consumer demand, some of the recession fears that are there. You're watching some of the government reports are basically saying that the demand side of it is just not outpacing the supply, and that's what's driving prices lower. Milk markets have been trying to hold the $20 handle after being consolidating between 25 and 23 basically most of the spring. So then the technical side also came into play there too. When we broke that trading range, the sellers kind of took over in the marketplace, and that's been driving us lower. So we'll have to see if things can kind of hold in this window. But with cheese prices trading around that $1.80 handle, it just has me a little more concerned that there may be some more potential downside there unless we see something dramatically change on the demand side of the story.
Yeah, production has actually pulled back a bit here. So that's at least offsetting a little bit of that. But what's your best projections as we go forward, as you work with producers about, how much lower we could go?
Again, we've seen that production pull back, especially with the forecast for the hotter temperatures and things coming through, putting some stress on the animals. So we'll have to see how that comes into play. But, producers are still looking at a $20 price window, or at least somewhere in that range. And that's still at least an area that can work. A little tougher, obviously, with the price of the inputs where they are. But you got to still protect value when you have it here. So, again, make sure you're kind of protecting some of those key psychological levels. And $20 is one of those levels. So if you have that opportunity to do that, you probably should, and make sure but stay flexible so you can keep that top side open in case we do see some recovery. But at least right now, because of just the lack of liquidity, pushes that market to a little bit more on the vulnerable side to further breaks.
Okay, some great advice. Thanks so much for joining us, John Heinberg with Total Farm Marketing.
To discuss marketing strategies, call 800-334-9779. AgDay is brought to you by MetLife Investment Management's Agricultural Finance Group. MetLife Investment Management is positioned to help you grow your business with a competitive farm, ranch, and agribusiness loan. To learn more, visit investments.metlife.com/agriculture.
And check out this massive mudslide near Angeles Oaks, east of San Bernardino, which closed traffic in both directions on Highway 38 over the weekend. Forecasters are warning residents in that area that additional flooding is still possible. Meanwhile, in Northern California, the McKinney fire continues to grow. It is burning in the Klamath National Forest. Officials say the blaze has grown to more than 82 square miles near the Oregon line. Joining us now, we've got meteorologist Matt Yurisovic taking a look at precipitation here over the last day or so, and it looks like parts of California could see a little more rain.
Yeah, we're going to see again that monsoon season's kind of keeping going there. A lot of moisture in the west, especially during the afternoons. So we're going to see more of those pop-up showers and thunderstorms. And then we're seeing more of that again across parts of the Ohio Valley as we head through today and tomorrow. And you can see over the last 24 hours, showers and storms in parts of the Ohio Valley, down along the Gulf Coast and back in the west. And as we put this into motion, you'll see a little bit more of that coming through the upper Midwest, especially into Thursday, and then more rain across the Gulf Coast, kind of scattered showers and thunderstorms in the evening. And much of the same is going to be going on in the west. Parts of California and Nevada haven't seen a lot of rain lately. They'll see a little bit more, hopefully helping the fire situation there, Northern California. And then more of those showers and storms, especially in Mexico, but coming up into the southwest as well. Now, severe weather risk for today is going to be along parts of the upper Midwest, Minneapolis over to Green Bay, down toward northern Illinois and northeastern parts of Iowa. And then tomorrow, that cold front starts to move eastward Central Michigan down through northern Indiana, right through Chicago, Peoria, and back to Kansas City has the chance to see kind of a line of showers and storms form. And we'll continue to watch that situation as high heat out ahead of that. But right now, taking a look at this, high pressure along the Gulf Coast, and then a couple of systems kind of training through parts of the Ohio Valley there. That's where some of that rainfall is coming from. But you can see just those afternoon showers and storms down in the south. Same thing with the southwest as well. But this is going to be that weather maker here that's going to be moving across the country as we head through Wednesday. And this is the cold front here that we're going to be watching pop up some of those storms heading into northern Indiana and all that kind of thing as we head through the day on Thursday. Hot and humid through the middle of the country. Same thing on the East Coast. A little bit of a break from that heat up in parts of New England. Temperatures in the morning, not any better. We're going to be looking at more heat and humidity really through the rest of this week because this jet stream is going to stay digging very much farther to the north. We're going to keep the heat and humidity through this week and into next week for many parts of the center of the country and back to the southwest. We'll continue to track that right here on Ag Day. That's a look around the country. Now let's take a look at the weather where you live. Ashland, Virginia, sunny and hot, a high near 93 degrees. Heading to Mission, South Dakota, hot and breezy with evening thunderstorms, a high near 102, and 105, sunny and hot in Yuma, Arizona.
Keep the dairy flowing. A new bill aims to make sure child nutrition programs keep serving. And later, rice farmers in Louisiana are gearing up for harvest. An update on the crop in the country.
Got equipment to sell privately but tired of scams and hassles? Visit MachineryPete.com and click Sell Mine. MachineryPete.com, the simple and secure way to buy and sell equipment online.
A bill that reauthorizes federal child nutrition programs passed an important House committee last week. It's called the Healthy Meals, Healthy Kids Act. Both the National Milk Producers Federation and the International Dairy Foods Association are in support of the bill, saying in addition to expanding eligibility and increasing support to schools, the bill increases students' access to nutritious food by securing the ability for schools to serve all milk options consistent with dietary guidelines. The bill now goes to the full House. Controversy continues to swirl around Easter Day farms. Now the focus is on a northern Oregon dairy operation. The Tri-City Herald reports Easter Day Dairy has repeatedly been cited for failing to bring nitrate levels in water at the site under control, even without cattle there. Now, the site is located east of Portland in Boardman, Oregon. Now, Easter Day is suing the former owners of the site for breach of contract, saying it's their fault the cleanup hasn't been accomplished. Easter Day is asking for millions of dollars in damages or to be released from the purchase agreement. So far, the Oregon Department of Ag has refused to issue a permit for a confined animal feeding operation until those nitrate levels are in compliance. Now, you'll remember Easter Day Ranches filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy last year. It came after Cody Easterday pleaded guilty in a so-called ghost cattle scheme. Too much rain last year had a big impact on Louisiana's rice crop, but it's a much different story this year, as we'll see next in the country.
Registration is open for the 2022 Pro Farmer Crop Tour. Join our team as we gain insight on the 2022 growing season in person or online. Visit profarmercroptour.com/register to select the stop nearest you.
Hot sunny weather was what rice farmers were hoping for after last year's nearly 100 inches of rain across South Louisiana. And as Craig Gautreaux reports, the state's rice crop is maturing quickly and combines will be in the fields in a couple of weeks.
Ideal weather conditions have helped rice farmers in Louisiana. This year's crop is expected to have very good yields thanks to the many sunny days in May and June. Farmers will need those good yields because this year's crop has been one of the more costly ones to grow.
Usually seed costs are one of the highest expenses. This year it was fertilizer cost. Nitrogen was probably 2 to 3 times as expensive.
High energy costs have made operating equipment and irrigation an added burden for farmers. While nearly all farm commodities have seen a run-up in prices, rice has not benefited as much as crops such as corn and soybeans.
California is going to be way down in acres this year because of water issues. Those have seemed to have a little bump in price, and we may see prices go up slightly when we get into harvest and start selling rice.
Rice breeders at the LSU Ag Center H. Rouse Cappy Rice Research Station are releasing new varieties that will benefit farmers. One way to help them is to have earlier maturing varieties that require less resources.
1 week less is in the field, that's 1 week less of any kind of risk from a hurricane or a storm. It's 1 less week you need to keep water on that field.
Developing new rice lines can take years, but they are essential in keeping the rice industry in Louisiana and the U.S. profitable and sustainable. With the LSU Ag Center, this is Craig Gautreaux reporting.
All right, thanks, Craig. And that's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.